Well, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has alarmed countries across Eastern Europe with fears they could be dragged into the conflict as well. Estonia shares a border with Russia. It's been a full member of NATO and the European Union since 2004. It's already sent more than $230 million worth of military aid to Ukraine. That's 0.8% of its GDP, the highest of any country. Joining us now on the News Hour is Alar, Karis, who's the president of Estonia. He's live from the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Mr. President, thank you so much for being with us on Al Jazeera. You live in a dangerous neighborhood today, Mr. President. How worried are you about the risk of the war in Ukraine to your country, and how do you assess your current relationship with not just NATO, but also with Russia?
Well, at the moment, there is no immediate threat to Estonia because, first of all, we are a member of NATO, and this umbrella will probably defend us, and not only NATO troops in Estonia, but also ourselves. So it's. I just lost my earpiece. So it is one thing, and of course the difference is that Ukraine is not a NATO member, so you can't compare the situations. But of course, as far as Russia is concerned, we have warned it already several times that this kind of thing might happen, but nobody did expect that they attack Ukraine in this way, and this kind of war will start. But Russia will stay our neighbor, and we have to be prepared and to defend ourselves. So, and the relations with NATO is extremely good, and it's even better when our neighbors, Finland and Sweden, are actually joining NATO. So the security situation is going to be different than it was, let's say, 5, 10 or 15 years ago.
You talked about Finland and
relations
Sweden.
with Russia, I mean, at the moment, not so many countries actually have relations with Russia.
Right.
So, first of all, it's important to stop this war, which is in Ukraine, and this aggression, and then we can start talking what's happening next.
Mr. President, you talked about Finland and Sweden there, and there have been splits within NATO about the way forward. Finland and Sweden want to join the alliance, but Turkey has been opposed to it, as you know. There's been a meeting in Ankara. There's a meeting in Ankara later today. Do you think we can expect a breakthrough on that? And do you think President Erdogan of Turkey's concerns about Finland and Sweden joining NATO are legitimate?
Well, of course, it's a very early stage as far as Finland and Sweden joining NATO. So, of course, some countries like Turkey, they have their own concern, but it's very difficult to say at this stage what's going to happen. But I'm pretty much convinced that by the end of the day or by the end of the year, these worries are not worries anymore, and Turkey is not against Finland and Sweden joining NATO.
Divisions, however, also in the EU, within the European Union. Hungary is blocking a 6 package of sanctions against Russia that includes a Russian oil ban. How do you convince President Orban that this is the way to go?
Well, we have to convince, because it is important to implement this 6 package. And even if it takes some time, we can also have, that means, half a package to be implemented, and keep talking to some countries who are not very favor of this kind of sanctions as far as oil and gas is concerned. So it's a working process, and we'll see how it goes.
Right. There are growing concerns, Mr. President, about global food supplies because grains from Ukraine are not moving. What role can your country, Estonia, play in this?
Of course, it's an important issue, because we might be in a doorstep of another humanitarian crisis if Ukraine is not able to provide grain to developing countries, mostly in Africa. So we have to find means to get this grain out of the country. And Baltic states, as well, together with Ukraine, are discussing how to use railroad and Baltic Sea harbors to get grain out of Ukraine, because there are about 50 million metric tons of grain in Ukraine and waiting to get out because they don't have storages to keep them in Ukraine.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us, Mr. President. Alar Karis is the president of Estonia, joining us there from the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.